This would be Thursday, February 11th, as we continue with more of our Greek mythology and learning stuff. And let's see. Beat points for Bucks still continues. Heroes t-shirt stuff is due tomorrow. Regular class has 16 squares for the book report due tomorrow for those kids who can't figure out how calendars work. And the advanced kids have 18 squares in case they're also special. Then we can continue on from there where we left off to try and help you out on this one. Gus?
I have a question about the shirts and
Good. At the end. Next up, Jovial. We'll do the quick review of the stuff we've already covered to make sure your brain is working. Let's see, what god did we get Jovial from, Matson? Zeus, because what's Zeus's Roman name? This is where the learning happens. Aaron? Jove. And so that's where we get the word jovial from. You still did well. And Matson, what is Zeus's job? No, that would be absolutely wrong. He would never make people happy. But, what's that? Close. That's what the word jovial would mean. Don't listen to Vanessa. She's filling your head full of lies. She's a horrible, horrible person. But just in general, do you know what Zeus did? And if you don't, that's fine. That's what the educating. That's my job. I get to educate people. Tommy?
Distract people with lightning.
Getting closer. Isabella?
To control Olympus.
Yeah, he was the king of all the gods. He was the top dog. And that's why we get the word happy from him, because the idea of you to be the king of all the gods, that you would have to be a happy person, the idea of being on top of the world and stuff like that. Then that brings us to cereal. And where did we get the word cereal from? Paige. Demeter, because what's her Roman name? Is correct. Ceres. Dakota, what was she the god of?
Food from the grain.
Good. The fact that she was the god of the grains and harvest, the one over yonder. And so because of this, she was the god of grains and harvest. What is the definition of what cereal is? Not just corn.
Wheat.
Not just wheat.
Farmer.
Food from?
grain.
Food from grain.
Yeah, actual thinking food from grains.
Wasn't she like the first one?
Then we got to volcano. And with volcano, what god did we get volcano from? Decaden?
Hermes.
No.
No.
Right?
Still, hence me saying no. It was a good try trying to
No,
trick me.
I said the wrong one. I was looking at the wrong
That
thing.
is correct. That's why I said no.
Hephaestus.
It is much better. And what was Hephaestus' Roman name?
Vulcan.
Vulcan. And what was he the god of? I know.
Smiths and metal workers.
So much learning in one spot is
Just
correct.
my eyes just wander off somewhere else.
Hephaestus, who is the god of the metalsmiths, which is why he's the one over here with the banging of the hammer and the giant anvil that he would use that you could drop on roadrunners' heads. He was also the only titan that was what?
Ugly.
And?
Crippled.
Ugly and crippled both, which go back to the same story that we'll get to eventually, which made him incredibly grumpy. He's also the one over here who's looking.
Oh, I spelled that wrong. Way wrong.
That we'll get to. And Hephaestus, the PH in the middle, once again makes the F sound, so it's not Hephaestus. It's just Hephaestus. And because he was horrifyingly ugly and other gods would laugh at him and turn away, he did not like to hang out with them because it made him all grumpy. So he lived most of his life inside mountains where he would use his forge to make the weapons. But the problem with a fire is a fire builds up smoke and heat, and eventually it has to go out of the chimney. And his mountains did not have chimneys, so the mountains had to create their own chimneys. And eventually when the mountain would, because of the chimney, it would create, because of the forge, what would we call this mountain?
Volcano.
A volcano. You'd say it was the home of Vulcan. And so that's why it was called a volcano, because it was a mountain of fire.
They're like
Question, dear?
Yes. What's Demeter's daughter's name?
Persephone. Isabel.
Oh, I want to answer the next question.
Okay. And let's see what it comes to. Mercurial. Isabel.
God is Hermes.
Hermes. Why do you say Hermes?
Because I do not know.
That is a solid answer. Almost in the right direction. William.
His Roman name is Mercury.
I pronounce it slightly different myself, but yes, Mercury, nicely done. And so Hermes, whose Roman name was Mercury, he is the one that's over here in the Heisman Trophy post. What was his main job for the gods? Messenger. Because he was the first god to have AD and not be able to focus and sit in one spot. And Zeus was like, "You're driving me nuts." He's like, "Why don't you run over there?" "Okay, run over okay, take this letter, okay. And so he would run all over the place. Over here behind Francis, he's the one that ran so fast his shirt fell off, but it's okay. He still has his mini skirt. And then over here, he's running, and apparently he ran through the finish line, and so it looks like he has like a big scarf on. He's an adorable man. And so that is where we have Hermes. Let's see. He was the god of a couple things. One, the god of messengers, but because of his speed and some other issues, he was also prayed to by other people. One was merchants, because they didn't have Walmarts and stores. They had the open air thing, like at the beginning of Aladdin, when the people are yelling at each other to have to come buy stuff. That's how the merchants worked. The faster you could talk, the more you could sell. So merchants would pray to Hermes to help them talk really fast. Like an auctioneer person? Like an auctioneer person. Travelers would pray to him, because while you were traveling from one place to another, you're in a little cart with the horses, and you have your kids in the back, and the kids did not have iPods to distract them, so the kids were really irritating. And if you want to take your kid and just throw him against a tree, you're like, please, Hermes, make this trip go quickly so I don't strangle a child. So you would pray to Hermes to have your trip go really quickly. Also, the other group that would pray to him were the thieves. Because if you were a thief, the whole idea is that you wanted to be quick. Because if you weren't quick with your thieving, then you would get caught. And the worst thing as a thief is when you're slow with it and they catch you, because there you go. Then when you get caught, a thief would then want to run, like, ah, and you go poopy, and you take off running. And so thieves would pray to Hermes either to help you steal quickly, or when you get caught, to distract them and then take off running. And so they would also pray to him. The word Mercurial, it connects to science. And when you have science experiments and you combine two chemicals together, what do you think that word would mean?
Chemistry.
Isabella?
Wait, do you mean what would the word be, or what would it?
Well, it's describing what happens with chemical reactions. And if this chemical reaction word comes from Hermes, you're on the right track. Tommy? Solid. That'd be if it connected to Vulcan. But for him,
Again, oh.
you ever seen someone drop the Mento into the Diet Coke?
Yep, I
That
was
is
playing
a
with it one time.
Mercurial reaction. Because it goes quickly. When you go, look, Diet Coke, look, Mento. 3 seconds later, I have to mop the floor. That's Mercurial, where all of a sudden it explodes. You ever seen someone drop a Mento into Play-Doh?
No.
Not a Mercurial reaction. It just sort of sits there, and you're like, look at that, it's going to change any decade. Just keep watching. So that's going really slowly, as it slowly will sink into the Play-Doh over the course of 1,000 years. So that's not Mercurial. And so anytime you have a reaction that's like, boom, that's Mercurial. The stick that Homeboy has in his hand,
Homeboy.
right up there, he and I are tight, it's okay. It's a stick with snakes on it. It's called the caduceus staff. And so it has the little stick and then the wings and the little snakes go around it.
It's the medical people things.
Oh, I get it. Because they're trying to get there quickly.
No, but a good try.
There.
It is on there, but not from that. But that was a good try of knowledge. I'm proud of you for trying to learn. You just failed epically. It's okay. And this one is actually a different symbol, but people are stupid. So it's okay when they sort of got them confused. They're both sticks with snakes. This is single stick with one snake. This is one stick, 2 snakes, 2 wings. Oh, Mr. Brovicast, it still sticks with snakes. Right, that's why the people were dumb. This one was from this Greek guy by the name of Asclepiades, or I don't know, some weird name. And Asclepiades had the power to bring people back to life with this little healing staff. And he would go around and use it to heal people. So doctors would use that as their symbol. So anytime you saw that, you're like, I'm dying. I don't want to die. I would like to be brought back to life. So you'd go until you saw the building that had the snake around a stick. You're like, oh, healing man. And so you go to them, and so that's why they have that symbol today, because it goes all the way back to Greek mythology. The trick is, people are dumb. People are dumb. And so they would see this and think it was the same thing, although it was technically a different one. The one he had was oftentimes connected to healing, only because he took people to the underworld. The way the Greeks believed it would work, you say, Jonas made me mad, and I'm like, Jones! And just stabbed him in the head. He would then fall down, and the Greeks believed your soul would pop up like a little ghost. Like, what's going on? Well, in order to get to the underworld, Hermes would come running by, would grab your ghost, and take it to the underworld. And you would flap behind him like a little ribbon in the wind. And he would take you to the underworld, and he'd just throw you, and you'd slowly go down, like, and then pop up, and he'd take off running. Sometimes Hermes didn't have time to deal with you, and while you're like, Mr. Brovicast just stabbed me in the head, and you'd be laying on the ground, Hermes like, I've got an appointment to get to. He's like, I don't have time. So he would take his little stick that could heal, but not necessarily bring you back from the dead, and he would touch you with the stick, and then also bring you back. And so oftentimes his stick was thought to be healing. And that was how the Greeks would explain the fact that even though I stabbed Jones in the head, all of a sudden he'd be like, Mr. Brovicast, you stabbed me in the head. And he'd come back to life because Hermes used his little staff to heal him.
Wait, you said he'd be healed, but he wouldn't be alive.
Right. Isabel?
I saw the same one on Percy Jackson, except the snakes were talking.
Yeah. Percy Jackson. Stuart?
No, I've seen that one when like he is holding on and goes, I promise you.
No, you haven't, maybe.
Just
There's
help
every
me
change.
with that.
You probably have. Once again, how did I just explain that? People are stupid. And so oftentimes they saw the other one, they were like, sticks and snakes, all the same thing. It's okay. It's not your fault that they put the wrong symbol on there. Yes, dear.
It's kind of ironic because we were just talking about like bringing people to life, and then the next one was like fatal.
I know, it's almost like I planned it out.
You did.
I bet you did.
Fatal! And where do we get the one fatal from?
Killing.
Then that would not be a good
Well,
try to volunteer.
this is where Google comes into play.
Or the handout I gave you, which is right there in front of you.
True.
Which is like Google, but simpler. Tommy?
Pan.
Nope, but a good try.
But
It has nothing to do with Pan.
what's the name again?
Oh.
Gus,
It does? Okay.
Wait. Never mind.
you got me. That's a good one. Dakota?
Fades
And why do you say the Fates?
because it sounds like it.
Where's Fade?
It sounds like fatal.
It does? Well, who are the Fates? What does it say?
They're goddesses who supervise fate.
Is
Isn't
good
that what-
job.
It's like,
The string.
where is this?
The Fates. Now, the Fates, not the Fates or the Faties. The Fatties? That's a whole different issue. The Fates were three sisters, Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos. And they were the three sisters that controlled your fate, how long you were to live. Stick. The Greeks believe... Magic. The Greeks believe that these three... In Percy Jackson, they were the three sisters that were in
In the taxi?
In the Hercules movie, they're the ones that shared the island. There were these three sisters that lived up in this mountain. And they had this thing called the Ball of Life. And the Ball of Life was this gigantic thing of string that controlled how long every living person and God was going to be on this earth. And the first sister's name was Clotho. And Clotho's job was to start making the string and to pull the string off. So let's say we're going to have baby Decawdon. Baby Decawdon's going to come into the world, and we're all excited about it. Well, before baby Ainsley can come into this world, they're going to have to create this string that tells us how long she's going to exist. So they would all of a sudden have like a little alarm go off, like, baby Ainsley on the way. We're going to pretend baby Jeannie doesn't exist yet. So baby Ainsley on the way. And so they would go ahead and start pulling out this string. The second sister, by the name of Lachesis, had a measuring stick. Lachesis' measuring stick did not have inches and feet on it. Hers was done by seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months. And we start pulling out Ainsley's string to see how long she's going to live. It could be 10 seconds. It could be 13 years. It could be 80 years. However long it is how long you're going to be alive. The third sister had the name Atropos. And Atropos had these giant magic scissors. And when her scissors touched the string, bing, it would separate it and the string would immediately disappear. That disappearing string became your life force. So, baby Ainsley's on the way. All of a sudden they're like, oh, here it comes. They pull out the string, slap it down, and it goes, cut, fizzle, wah, wah, Ainsley's into the world. And so that string has determined how long she will be with us. Sometimes the string gets snagged in like 10 seconds. That's good enough. And they put it down, go ahead and cut it. Ainsley comes into the world. So that's how they would explain that you might only be around for a short period of time because babies die.
Oh my god,
But
her face.
other times, you could say you're going to live to be 13 years, 3 months, 5 days, however long you
Sorry guys, I'm dead next year.
When that happens, you are going to die once your string is up. Does it tell how you're going to die? Nope. They had no control over how you died, just the moment you died. And let's say Ainsley's is up at 13 years, 3 months, whatever it is, and she's walking along the street, just minding her own business. Once that string is up, she dies. How? Depends. Maybe all of a sudden the car's like, ah! It just runs her over. Or she's walking along and just an acorn falls from a tree. She's like, what? Don't! And she falls down. Doesn't matter. They don't explain how you die, just that's the moment that you die. Or it could say that you don't die until you're 80 or something like that. And the way that, let's say that Ainsley's not supposed to die until she's 80. And she's walking along the street, and then all of a sudden a bus hits her. She goes underneath the bus, thump, and then falls off a cliff, hits the ground. She does not die because her string was not up yet.
I know!
And that's how the Greeks would explain, there's no way she's supposed to survive that because for some reason he keeps talking and I don't know why either. And so that was how they would explain you could survive an accident that you're not supposed to survive because your string was not up. Law.
When you said that when they cut the string and the baby is born, it's kind of like the umbilical cord.
Something like that. Except different.
I'm sorry, Ainsley.
So, if you have an accident, and we say that Ainsley had a fatal accident, what has happened to her? It means that she's died.
I
Because it
died,
means
guys.
the fates have cut her string.
So
So that's what fatal comes next to.
Do they actually share an eyeball?
No. That's very unhygienic. That's how you get cooties.
Was that the biological and conjunctivitis?
These guys hilarious.
So that's where the fates come in.
I'm apparently dead.
And it was thought that even the Titans had strings too. It's just that their strings were a lot longer because they lived for thousands upon thousands of years. So whenever a baby Titan was getting ready to be born, the Fates would pull their string, but instead of just pulling it out and slapping it down there, they're like, oh, here comes another Zeus baby.
I didn't see it.
And like just a big pile of string. Like, all right, I'm tired, finally cut. And they'd cut it because they would just live for so long. So, fatal. Next up, let's get to Iris. So we get to another story real quick.
Yay.
And,
Sharing the eyeball iris.
Paige,
Can I use that?
you may. Points.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Just iris.
Isabel, you know where we get Iris from?
I think.
Let's find out.
I think it'd be.
Oh, I know this one.
I don't know if it's gone or not, but.
Are
It'd
you
be Cyclops because the iris and then the eye.
Yeah.
Ooh, no, but a good try. And Francis?
Iris?
Yes, Iris. Where do we get Iris from?
Uh,
You're correct. The god Iris. There's an actual god who had the
Oh,
exact
seriously?
same name who made it. Yeah, it's right there on the white sheet.
They like the name.
Now,
Iris.
with Iris, what is Iris the god of? Francis?
the rainbow.
Two things. She was the god of the rainbow, and she had a job.
Oh, I like rainbows.
She's the messenger.
She was also a messenger. With her being the rainbow god, and her being a... Mr. Brovicast, you already told us we had a messenger. We did. Who's our other messenger? Hermes. Well, the problem is Hermes works for his father, and Hermes' father was Zeus. And oftentimes, Zeus's wife Hera wanted to send messages that she didn't want her husband to know about. So because of that,
Another guy?
break it down a little bit. So because of that, she had to have her own messenger, and that's where Iris comes in. She worked just for Hera. Hermes worked just for Zeus. Now, with that, it was thought that every time Hera sent a message down to Earth, humans would be able to know. How could humans know? There was a rainbow. But there's a reason for it. The reason being, when is it that we see rainbows? After rain. But we don't see it after every rainstorm, just during certain weather with it raining. Do you know when we see rainbows?
After this?
Yes.
Isn't it like the sun?
Whenever it's
The sun
sunny
comes
out and we have a rain, that's when we see rainbows.
Stops and then-
There's a reason why we see rainbows at that time. It
Why?
connects to Greek mythology.
Oh.
Zeus, as we've mentioned, liked to make friends. Zeus did not like to get in trouble by his wife. So Zeus would like to hide his friends from his wife, as you do. And so what Zeus would do is he would leave Mrs. Zeus, Hera, up on Mount Olympus. Zeus would come down to Earth to find his friends. But in order to prevent his wife from finding out, him being god of the weather, came up with this genius plan. I will then make a storm cloud appear right above me because she's up here, I'm down here, storm cloud in between, I don't get caught, home free, life is good. So the problem is, whenever Hera was up on Mount Olympus, she would look at him like, it's such a sunny, beautiful day. Look at, why is there a rain cloud? And she'd see just a rain cloud just sitting out there. She's like, Zeus! And so because of that, she would then send her messenger down to come down and spy and find out where Zeus was. So immediately, Iris would take off, come running down there and try to find him. Which is why you only see the rainbows whenever it rains on a sunny day. That's because Hera's checking up on her husband. Which means, from now on, when you see rainbows, it's going to ruin it for you. Because you're like, oh, Zeus is now cheating on his wife. And so you'll have that immediate connection, and that's how it goes through.
Cheating.
With Iris, there are two definitions of Iris. One you have with you, one that we find outside. You know the one you have with you?
Your
Your eye. Which part of your eye?
Your colored part. Oh, I get it now. Because
The colored part of the eye.
Oh.
It was thought that Iris had that part of you created when humans were created out of mud, which is the story we're going to get to. The fact that she was the one that sort of put a little bit of herself into your eye, thus all the different colors. The other definition of Iris is
the flower.
it's a flower. And so it's a flower that has a whole bunch of different colors to it.
Oh.
Iris looks like that. Just to give you an example of them.
Oh, I love those.
And then the other one, the iris, for the eyeball.
That's yours. That looks like
That's my eyeball. I just got a close-up picture of my eyeball.
Yeah, and put on a lot of makeup.
It makes my eye pop. Thank you.
That looks
You have the pupil, you have the iris, and then the white part is called the sclera. And then around the outside of that, you'll see the kids who get too excited about learning and lose points because they can't shut their,
Okay. It's so gross because Hera was Zeus' sister. He married her, had children with her, so that's awkward.
If that bothers you now, just wait. It's only going to get worse.
Oh.
Isabel?
You know how Iris makes the rainbow?
Yes.
Then where did they get the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow?
Leprechauns.
Because that's a whole different thing that's not connected to Greek mythology. That's just the Irish.
Because they believe that everybody are leprechauns and all that.
That was her twin sister, Siri.
Go to the new Lucky Charms. You can find Lucky Charms inside of
Where's my lucky charm?
What is it we have doing tomorrow?
Square.
Good job, kids who are mildly responsible.